I sank into my green velvet armchair, the kind I'd bought years ago with my first Social Security check after my husband passed. The coffee on the side table was cooling, its steam mingling with the faint sweetness of peach cobbler from the kitchen. The house was quiet, truly quiet, and for once it felt like mine. Just me, the aroma of baked fruit, the soft hum of the television murmuring the evening news, and the faint creak of the floor under my feet. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the stillness settle around me. Then came the slam of the front door. I didn't need to look. Derek, with his swagger and arrogance, had entered. Behind him, my daughter Lena followed, her arms weighed down with shopping bags, her shoulders slumped as if the air itself were pressing on her. I watched them enter, calm and deliberate, letting the tension settle like fog in the room. Derek moved to the television like he owned it, snatching the remote, pressing the red button, and the screen went black. "To your room, old woman, this is my family room now." "Game's on," his voice echoed through the space, thick with entitlement as if shouting granted him ownership. Lena didn't speak. She just held the bags, her knuckles white, eyes on the floor. That silence was heavier than any insult, colder than any scream. My gaze met hers briefly, silently waiting for her to stand up for me to say, "You don't talk to my mother like that." But she didn't. Instead, she shifted a bag in her hands, a subtle gesture that was a quiet apology or maybe an acknowledgement of fear. I didn't flinch. I rose slowly, knees clicking dryly against the hardwood. Every step was deliberate. I wasn't retreating in defeat. I was gathering my tools. In the bedroom, I opened the bottom drawer of my dresser, a leather folder containing bank documents, deeds, keys, and contracts, all stamped with my name, Celeste M. Everson. Old papers yellowed at the edges but still ironclad. The power was in those signatures, in the authority of ownership that could not be disputed. Standing in front of the mirror, I studied my reflection. Gray hair cropped short, glasses dangling on a chain, linen trousers, navy blouse, grandma attire, soft and unassuming. Perfect. They would never suspect the force beneath this gentle exterior. I smiled faintly. Let the wolves think I'm the cookie-baking grandmother. As long as I feed them, they'll feel secure. The moment I close the oven, they crumble. Returning to the living room, Derek sprawled across the couch, soda in hand, oblivious to my presence. Lena was at the counter, rearranging dishes. I walked past them silently, each step deliberate. My heels clicked on the hardwood, a subtle metronome of authority. I reached the front door, turned the deadbolt, and stepped outside. The air was crisp against my face, but I wasn't cold. The city's energy surged into me like fuel. I hailed a cab to the Grand Hyatt downtown, the taxi weaving through the city streets, lights flashing past, each one a reminder that the world moved fast, but I was still in control. In the hotel room, I set down my purse, my folder of papers, and sank into the chair by the window. Outside, the sun dipped low, reflecting on the river. I took out my phone and dialed Andrew V. Sterling, my attorney, someone I trusted to translate my authority into legal action. "I need to serve an eviction notice. My daughter and son-in-law have lived in my house for 4 years without a lease." "Immediate action," I said, calm but firm. There was a pause. "Are you certain, Celeste? I've waited too long. Silence and patience have limits. I will not back down." Documents were drafted, notices prepared. Roman, Sterling's junior associate, professional, quiet, precise, would deliver them. No yelling, no confrontation, just authority formalized in paper. I felt the weight of it, the power of words backed by law. Finally, the leverage I had built for decades, the mastery of ownership, could be exercised. The rest of the evening passed quietly. I ate soup slowly, sipped wine, watched the city lights. Every sound, every vibration of my phone reminded me that for the first time in years I had reclaimed my space. Derek's yelling no longer defined the house. Lena's silence no longer dictated my peace. The law, the papers, the deeds, they were my shield. The armchair, the peach scent, the quiet, my fortress. The next morning, sunlight poured through the heavy drapes of my living room, slicing across the rug in gold bands. I stood by the window, watching the street below. Derek's truck wasn't there yet, which meant he was still sleeping off last night's arrogance. Lena, I suspected, would arrive later, already caught between loyalty and fear. I sipped my coffee slowly, letting the warmth fill me. Today would be decisive. Today, the balance of power would finally tip. The doorbell rang, sharp and insistent. My pulse didn't quicken, it had learned patience over decades. I opened the door to find Roman, tidy in a gray suit, briefcase in hand. His expression was courteous, neutral like a hawk watching without flinching. "Good morning, Mrs. Everson. I have the documents you requested. Ready to serve?" "Excellent," I said, taking the papers with careful hands. They were crisp, formal, impossible to ignore. Each notice bore my name, my authority, my ownership. One by one, Roman laid them on the coffee table, the weight of law resting like armor across the room. We drove together to the house. The city hummed around us, oblivious to the storm we were about to unleash inside that quiet suburban home. As we approached, Derek's truck sat idling in the driveway. I could see him through the window, pacing, gesturing wildly at Lena, who held a notepad like a shield. Roman parked discreetly and I stepped out, hand resting on the leather folder. Each step toward the house was deliberate, commanding. Derek's head turned at the sound of my heels on the pavement. He froze like a predator realizing its prey had claws. "Mom," Lena's voice was cautious, tentative, almost a whisper. But I didn't falter. I entered through the side door, keeping my expression neutral, calm, impenetrable. Derek's eyes were wide. What are you doing here?" I set the folder on the kitchen counter, opened it slowly, letting the sound of papers shifting fill the room. "I'm here to ensure my home is respected," I said, voice low but steady, "and to remind you that respect is not optional." He laughed nervously, pacing in front of me. "This is ridiculous. I pay rent, kind of, and Lena, she's your daughter, she can handle things." Lena didn't speak. Her gaze flicked between us, holding back tears or arguments, I couldn't tell which. She had always been the bridge between our worlds. My quiet strength, Derek's reckless force, today that bridge would be tested. Roman stepped forward, extending the documents. "Mr. Harris, these are formal eviction notices. They are legally binding. You are required to vacate the property within 30 days. Derek snatched the papers, scanning them like a man trying to decode a secret language. His face paled. The words hit him like hammers. This isn't legal?" I smiled faintly, letting the air of inevitability settle over him. "It's very legal, Derek. I've waited long enough for respect. Silence is over. Authority is here." He crumpled the papers in his hands, threw them to the counter. You can't do this." "I already have," I said simply. My voice was calm, measured, but underneath it was steel. Every syllable a reminder of decades of endurance, patience, and ownership. Lena moved then, finally speaking. "Derek, maybe we should just listen. Mom's right." Her voice trembled, but the courage beneath it was clear. For the first time in years, she was standing on my side, a silent yet powerful ally. Derek's jaw clenched. Anger, fear, frustration, every emotion twisted on his face, but the room was quiet except for her words. Minutes passed like hours. Derek retreated, muttering, slamming doors. Lena followed after him, hesitant but obedient. Roman and I watched from the doorway, the silence between us solid, confident, final. The storm had passed for now. My home, my rules, my authority had survived the first clash. Back in the living room, I sank into the green armchair again, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders. The house smelled faintly of coffee and wood polish, sunlight catching the dust motes like tiny stars. For the first time in years, I felt control. Not domination, not revenge, control. Outside, the city moved on, oblivious to the battles fought in small kitchens and living rooms. But inside, I knew something had shifted. The walls of my home, my fortress, were no longer threatened by entitlement. The law, the papers, the decisions, they were my shield. And for the first time, my daughter's quiet loyalty was a sword by my side. I closed my eyes and let the moment linger. The next 30 days would be decisive, yes. But for now, I had reclaimed my domain. Derek had been warned. Lena had seen the strength beneath my calm, and I finally felt the power of patience realized. The story isn't over yet. Comment next part now and make sure to like, subscribe, and share.